Donald Trump needs to immediately fire his two campaign co-managers, Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles. Or at least that is what the guy that used to be the director of Project 2025, an attorney by the name of Paul Dans, had to say in an interview this week. While speaking to the media, Mr. Dans said that what LaCivita and Wiles did to the Trump campaign is really nothing short of political malpractice. So what did these two people do that was so bad that deserves them being fired on the spot? Well, according to Dans, they're the ones who ended up pushing President Biden out of this race by agreeing to a debate in June instead of the usual September debates, which at that point would have been too late for Biden to drop out. The ballots are being printed right this moment, and everything else is history. But here's what Mr. Dans had to say. Trump should be running like Secretariat at the Belmont, but instead, it's a race to the wire. They pushed Biden off the stage and they had no plans for Harris. This is on par with historic campaign malpractice. Dans told the New York Times that he was blindsided when Trump distanced himself from the Project 2025 blueprint for staffing the federal government with loyalists to implement right-wing policies. And he said the former president's disavowal only helped strengthen Democratic attacks. They took the bait, he said of the Trump campaign. So, Mr. Dans is, of course, a little angry that Donald Trump is pretending to have no involvement and know nothing at all about Project 2025, which we all know he's deeply involved in it. He was on stage back in 2022, introducing the leader of the Heritage Foundation, saying, this guy's writing the plan for my next administration. It was obvious. Trump knows about it, and he got caught, and he doesn't want to be associated with it now because it is historically unpopular with the voters. But Mr. Dans has a point about LaCivita and Susie Wiles, who, I have to make this. I meant to mention this like weeks ago, and it slipped my mind while I was doing my segment, so let me mention this. Trump doesn't have a campaign manager. He has two campaign co-managers. And it reminds me of something that we see in football, both college and pro. If you have two quarterbacks that you rotate in and out, or the quarterback by committee type thing, then that means you don't have a quarterback. In other words, if you've got two individuals running your campaign, it means you don't have anybody running your campaign. It has to come to a head. You cannot have two separate people with two separate visions doing two separate things with the same group of people. It doesn't work. So yes, having two campaign managers, not smart. But also not smart was Donald Trump wanting to debate Biden. He's been wanting to debate Biden, by the way, for a year. And Biden was like, nah, let's just wait for the thing. And then Trump's taunts, I guess, became too much. And Biden was like, screw it. Let's do a debate. Let's do it in June. Let's get it over with. Let's make it happen, bud. And Trump went with it. I hadn't thought about this until I read this, but think about how different everything would be right now. Because the first debate still would have happened last night, except it would have been Trump and Biden. And at that point, ballots are being printed right now. The nominating contests for both political parties are done and solidified and submitted to the states. We couldn't switch Biden out. If he did in June, last night instead of months ago, Democrats would be screwed. It's as simple as that. So it's a good thing they debated early, but nobody could have predicted that. I mean, honestly, I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't expect to see, this eloquent, pugnacious Biden, but I didn't expect what happened. Nobody could have, so you can't blame that on Trump's campaign managers. Now, every other horrible thing his campaign managers have done, sure, that's on them. But to call this malpractice as a lawyer, hell, that's borderline legal malpractice, and you should know better than to blame unpredictable things, really, on anybody. Blame them for not being prepared for Harris? Sure. But it's not their fault that Trump got what Trump wanted, and then it blew up in his face. Well, folks, we have crossed that 1 million subscriber milestone, but rest assured, we are just getting started here at Ring of Fire. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel and make sure to like, share, and comment on the videos.